people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. It's official. Johnson versus Thorslund for the Ring Magazine and undisputed bantamweight crown, August 8th.
Would seem that MVP has delivered on their promise to Dina Thorslund. To get her Shernika Johnson in the ring, Thorslund will challenge Johnson in the MVP W05 main event, live from Orlando's Caribe Royale Resort for 2 titles she never lost in the ring. Instead, the 32-year-old had relinquished the WBO and WBC bantamweight titles last June after announcing she was pregnant with her second child. Johnson stepped up to the plate and scored a 9th-round TKO win over then IBF champion Shurita Metcalf in July, 4 months removed from a dominant stoppage of Nina Hughes for what was the WBA title. Denmark's Thorslund
suffered a miscarriage and returned in January of this year on the Jacob Bank versus William Skullcard with a near shutout win over Almudena Alvarez for the WBC interim featherweight title, though now is moving back down to her more natural weight. Australia's Johnson defended her undisputed crown the month prior, outpointing Amanda Gaye on the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul undercard in December. In a statement, the ring champion warned her future foe about what's to come. I know for certain this is going to be an incredible fight for the fans to watch. Shernika always comes into the ring in great shape, and she'll definitely need to be at her absolute best against me, because I'm returning with a level of motivation I've never had before. Part of it is sporting ambition, but for me, this is also deeply personal. Johnson, meanwhile, is looking forward to the challenge against the title holder sitting 7th on the ring's pound-for-pound list. I truly believe that everything happens for a reason, and for this fight to come together the way it has makes it even more exciting, she said in a press release. Now is my time to show what I truly am capable of. This is the fight I always knew would bring out the best version of me, and plan to do exactly that. Take my belts home, take her pound-for-pound ranking, and claim the bantamweight queen title!
I said it the other day. You can't be truly undisputed if there's another fighter at the weight who can claim lineal and Ring Magazine champion, and that's Dina Thorslund. What Shernika Johnson has is all of the alphabet titles, all of the sanctioning body belts, but she doesn't have the Ring Magazine title, and she's not lineal champion. That's Dina Thorslund.
Dina Thorslund, 32 years old to Shernika Johnson, who is 31. Both fighters are orthodox fighters, and in terms of the tale of the tape, they're about evenly matched. I wondered if this fight was actually going to happen because Dina Thorslund presents as the most dangerous fight for Shernika Johnson and really any fighter in the bantamweight division.
Both fighters have so much in common. Both fighters are 2-weight world champions who reigned as champions at both Super Bantam and currently at Bantam.
Both fighters have proven themselves over time to be malleable, to be adaptable, able to come forward and apply pressure and box off the back foot using the ring, box and punch. They both know how to do that. The fight between them will decide who can do it better.
Box on the front foot being aggressive, or box on the back foot being defensive.
We've seen a noticeable mean streak in Shernika Johnson in recent years and recent fights. She spent a lot more time on the front foot applying pressure in the Susie Ramadan fight, the Shurita Metcalf fight, the Nina Hughes fight. Very aggressive, very come forward. Is that how she's gonna fight Dina?
Maybe.
If it is, Dina's got the answer for that. Dina, like Shernika, can box on the back foot just as well as she can box on the front foot. Punch for punch. They're both hard punchers, but I'd wager that Dina does punch a little harder. In a fight that seems a bit more even to me than it used to in previous years. If you would have asked me a few years ago who wins this fight, I would have said Dina Thorslund emphatically, she would have been the overwhelming favorite for me. But now that time has been allowed to pass and Shernika Johnson's confidence has been allowed to build,
in tandem with certain outlying factors like Dina Thorslund not actually making the bantamweight limit in well over a year, the last time she fought as a bantamweight was towards the end of 2024. Her more recent outing in January was up there at feather. Now moving back down to bantam, can she be just as sharp? Can she be just as explosive as she normally is?
or did the recent yo-yoing in weight affect her ability to perform? It's a question that only time can answer. Only time will tell.
But because some time has been allowed to pass, I do feel that the fight is closer now than it used to be. And we'll talk more about it as the fight date approaches.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Floyd Mayweather's mounting debt and legal woes as his ex-friend is fighting a prison sentence after Floyd has decided to sue him. The money manager, whom Floyd Mayweather claims ran a years-long scheme where he stole upwards of $175 million, is fighting a prison sentence handed down in an unrelated case, TMZ has learned. According to court documents obtained by TMZ, Jonah Rechnitz was ordered to serve 5 months in prison as part of a case involving allegations of wire fraud, but he is fighting the sentence. The charges were brought back in 2016. Jonah pleaded guilty to honest services fraud and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors on related cases in the hopes of getting a lenient sentence. The case dragged on for years until the co-defendants' cases were resolved. Jonah has been out on release for nearly 10 years. Since his cooperation began in February, Jonah was finally sentenced to serve 5 months in prison, which is tantamount to a slap on the wrist,
It'll be over before you know it.
and is currently scheduled to check in on June 26th. On May 14th, Jonah asked the court to assign him to a specific prison that supports his religious observance. Jonah is a small hat.
A Seinfeld.
Jonah appealed the 5-month sentence, claiming the judge made errors when ruling on how to throw him behind bars. He was in court this week arguing that he should be allowed to remain out on bail while he awaits a decision on his appeal. As TMZ first reported, Floyd sued Jonah for allegedly scamming him out of $175 million. The famed fighter claimed Jonah was a close friend who drained his bank account.
The question being, who gave Jonah access to Floyd's money, if not Floyd? Whatever he ended up taking, it's your fault.
More even than in his current situation with Al Heyman and Showtime, because the nature of that relationship was always a business relationship.
Yeah. Floyd eventually described Al Heyman as being his second father and all this stuff.
But it was essentially a business relationship, as Al Heyman was acting as both an advisor and a manager for Floyd Mayweather. What was Jonah Rechnitz acting as?
A close friend who drained his bank accounts and moved his money around. Floyd claimed that Jonah and others worked together on a scheme to defraud him out of millions. A rep for Jonah and the other defendants told TMZ, "We have thoroughly reviewed Mr. Mayweather's lawsuit. His claims against our clients are utterly baseless and refuted by substantial documentary evidence, including Mr. Mayweather's own correspondence. Our clients intend to vigorously defend these claims and are confident that once all of the facts are presented in court, not only will our clients be vindicated, Mr. Mayweather's gambling issues, prolific spending habits, monies owed to third-party creditors, and IRS tax liens and levies, as well as other unseemly behavior, will be exposed. And we believe that Mr. Mayweather will be the one paying significant damages to our clients," the rep added.
In layman's terms, Jonah's team are saying, don't blame us for that shit. All the money you're currently out now, it's your own fault.
Which would seem an adequate explanation if not for Jonah's sketchy history.
Perhaps it could be a mix of both, because Floyd Mayweather has never had the best of spending habits. He's always been irresponsible and childish with his money, seeing that somebody like Jonah and somebody like Al Heyman could easily take advantage of him, because a fool and his money are easily parted.
When you're pouring millions upon millions of dollars down the drain on jewelry and watches, gaudy, tacky jewelry and spending millions more at the Gucci store, making everybody else rich. Would it really be that hard?
For somebody close to him.
Would it be that difficult to siphon millions from him? I don't think so. And I don't think Floyd is going to get a dime of his money back. I believe he was defrauded. I believe he was scammed by Jonah Rechnitz and Al Heyman because he's a mark. He's a rube.
He makes like he's this Warren Buffett kind of business mogul, this Jeff Bezos kind of business guy, but he's just another dumb boxer. More concerned with appearing to be rich than doing what he needs to do to stay that way.
And given who Floyd Mayweather has been as a character in the sport of boxing and how he presented himself, you can't help but get a sense of karma that Kismet is at work here if this is how it ends for the unbeaten boxer.
I've long maintained that Floyd Mayweather may have been the highest earning boxer in the sport of boxing, but it wasn't without its nuances because he himself was not beloved, not even in his prime.
He was not well liked.
That's not to say that he didn't have a faction of fans of his own, but it wasn't just his fans buying all of those pay-per-views when you fight a Marquez, a Miguel Cotto, a Manny Pacquiao. They had fans too.
Wasn't just Floyd by himself selling those fights, not with a reputation for being boring.
What he sold with Sugar Shane Mosley, or a young Canelo Alvarez. Canelo was a rising star at that time, and people tend to forget that Floyd, he didn't sell all those pay-per-views by himself off his name alone.
What's your point?
Don't let the numbers fool you. Floyd, while highly successful, was not well liked. So he doesn't now, at close to 50 years old, get to parlay that into continued success like Mike Tyson has.
Because Mike lost it all too, but he got it all back.
Where are Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather different? Mike Tyson is still beloved. For all of his flaws, he's still respected and still viewed as one of the most electrifying fighters and iconic fighters, easily recognizable the world over.
The sport has ever seen.
Whereas Floyd is not as beloved, not as well liked, and not as respected. If you've been lying all this time about your business acumen to where anyone from Jonah Rechnitz to Al Heyman play you like a fiddle, play you for a fool.
All he ever cared about was his money, to where now, if he doesn't even have that.
Floyd was often accused of fighting too safe, being a safety-first fighter, fighting like a coward, like a pussy, to where there were a lot of people who didn't respect him, so you don't have that to fall back on.
Saying derogatory things about the boxers that came before him, like Muhammad Ali,
who always was and still is a hell of a lot more respected than Floyd Mayweather.
And beloved.
It was easy for Floyd Mayweather to say these things and behave this way while he was raking in millions for all of those successful pay-per-views, but those days have long since passed. They are over.
The idea was that Floyd Mayweather was so financially savvy, he could never end up another broken down boxer like the boxers that came before him.
Though if Al Heyman stole over $300 million from you, and Jonah Rechnitz stole about $175 million, maybe your business acumen isn't all it's made out to be. Just a hunch.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, in light of Gervonta Davis's latest legal kerfuddle, a Twitter user who goes by the name Raheem Palmer said, "Tank may be a troubled human being, but I hate the way boxing media talks about him. Most of you guys would have never made it out of the environment he's from. It's honestly a miracle he's even made it this far."
Here comes the tough inner city street kid trope.
Somehow people can never show grace or sympathy for athletes in real time. There's a Hall of Fame heavyweight fighter who is a convicted rapist who everyone seems to love and has an infinite amount of grace for.
I think he's talking about Mike Tyson. And what he's leaving out of his equation is during that time, when Mike was getting in trouble, he was the bad guy. I mean, he was vilified the same, if not more, than Gervonta Davis. It's only in his later years that people softened their stance on him due to nostalgia
and other outlying factors. But the crux of it is, they're not doing anything to Gervonta Davis now that they weren't also doing to Mike Tyson. So what's this guy talking about?
Raheem continued, "It absolutely blows my mind that people can watch The Wire and feel bad for circumstances that Duquan, Michael, and Randy had bestowed upon them and not understand that Cuddy's character was literally based on Calvin Ford."
So we should give Gervonta a pass for every time he gets in trouble because of The Wire. Is that it?
Tank Davis's real-life story is that of the kids we saw in The Wire Season 4, and yet he still made it. Coming from the circumstances in which he's from, it's only natural that he's going to have some of the issues he's had.
Oh yeah, that's bullshit. You don't get to be a serial domestic abuser because you grew up in a poor neighborhood.
He says he's not excusing this by any means, but some of the people covering the sport could at least have a bit more grace for him.
How about you have more grace for the victims? How about that? Those affected by his hit and run, where he fled the scene, a bit more grace for Courtney Russell. Because how do you imagine that woman felt as a world champion boxer storms into her place of work and tries to drag her into the parking lot?
And to do what?
Veteran boxing scribe Dan Rafael responded by saying, how many chances should he get? Seriously. Sympathy is one thing, of course, but acceptance of the same behavior over and over and over and over isn't something to be sympathetic to which Raheem responded, this requires a longer conversation.
No, it doesn't.
That is too much for Twitter. We haven't met before, but I've seen you on press row at the big fights, and next time I'm covering a big fight and you're there, I'll be sure to talk to you and introduce myself. I think it's a bit deeper than you're comprehending.
No, it isn't. You're just trying to give Gervonta Davis a pass for what is serial behavior on the premise that he comes from an impoverished neighborhood. But do you know how many doctors and how many lawyers and how many productive citizens all started out in impoverished neighborhoods to where being poor is not a pass to be a criminal?
This American definition for what poor is, because in other parts of the world, there are individuals who come from even more poverty than a Gervonta Davis.
So much poverty that even running water is a luxury. And these are the folks who come to the United States and go to university, work hard, not using their circumstances as an excuse to be a criminal.
This is just a veiled effort to pardon Gervonta Davis's continued degeneracy. And he's not a tough inner-city street kid anymore. He's a grown man in his early 30s.
You gotta be fucking joking. You want us to look at him like he's some sort of little boy, like he's not responsible for anything.
Responsible for his own actions.
Let me tell you something, sweetheart, because even if his upbringing was that bad, to where this is how he's behaving now as an adult, it all means the same thing.
Remove him from society, whatever the case.
So what you're not gonna do is convince me that he was so impoverished, he was so poor, that he didn't have access to the same basic essentials as everybody else, the same public schools.
Same ability to learn.
So what if I say that what he really is the byproduct of ain't shit parents having ain't shit kids in what is a vicious cycle that spans generations?
What if I said that, huh?
What if it boils down to the content of the character of the parents affecting and molding the character of the children?
You're not gonna convince me that socioeconomic factors are a get-out-of-jail-free card for what is a degenerate, because Ben Carson wasn't rich when he was a kid, and he grew up to be a fucking doctor.
Gervonta Davis has been making multi-million-dollar purses for how many years now, and he still doesn't know how to act. He's literally making more money than most of the country. Why are we supposed to feel sorry for him?
You got people out there working 2 and 3 jobs, struggling to pay their bills, that they're supposed to feel sorry for the millionaire brat because he used to be poor. He's not poor anymore.
He's just a piece of shit. Gervonta Davis is just a piece of shit, and I'm sure that he's got some kind of backstory, but that story doesn't change that he's a piece of shit.
You don't get out of your comeuppance, you don't get out of accountability because you were fucking poor. What kind of logic is that?
It's a problem with some people. They don't believe in accountability. They all think they're supposed to get a pass.
Fuck that shit.